From the blaze of emergency response to the beacon of security and retirement, this is the Atlas Annuity Podcast with your host, Marty Becker. Strap in, folks. Marty isn't your ordinary retirement planner. He's the financial firefighter who swapped his helmet for a headset to bring you the hottest, safe money strategies in retirement without an ounce of burn. From guarding lives in the face of flames, Marty now shields your savings from the unpredictability of the stock market. He's the president, the owner, and annuity expert at Atlas Financial Strategies. Here's your host, Marty Becker.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Atlas Annuity Podcast. My name is Marty Becker, and I'm your host and the owner of Atlas Financial Strategies in St. Louis, Missouri, where we specialize in safe money retirement solutions. I've been wanting to start this podcast for a while, but with a lot of hesitation, because number one, there's a lot of competition in the space, and number two, how do you make a podcast about annuities interesting? Honestly, I have no idea, but I'm going to do it anyway because there's still a lot of misinformation out there about annuities. So my whole goal of this podcast is to educate the public on what many economists deem to be one of the most important assets you can have in your retirement plan, which is an annuity. A little bit about me and my background and why you should even listen to me and this podcast. I've been in the annuity/life insurance business since 2015. And I started my own agency in 2016. The way I came into this industry is a bit unconventional compared to most people because my formal training was in firefighting and paramedicine. Now, traditionally, firefighters, police officers, and other civil servants have always had defined benefit pensions. For those of you that are unfamiliar with that term, that is the type of retirement plan that guarantees you a certain amount of income after you retire. And that income is paid to you or you and your spouse, no matter how long you live. I would venture to say that your grandparents or even your parents had or have a defined benefit pension. The problem is those plans are very expensive to fund. And since the early 1980s, they've been going by the wayside. In fact, at the time of this recording, there's a big UAW strike happening in the auto industry because those workers want their defined benefit pensions back. And for their sakes, I hope they get it, but I also think they shouldn't hold their breath because they're probably going to pass out. So anyway, back to how a fireman came about to sell annuities. I had a defined benefit pension plan, and it was changed around 2008. To a defined contribution plan. A defined contribution plan, for those of you who don't know, you most likely have one, and you may not know it, but it's something like a 401k, a 457, a 403, a TSP, or any other series of numbers or letters that the IRS assigns to these plans. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, they're all exactly the same in the fact that they're all dependent on the returns of the stock market. So when this switch happened, I was 27 years old, so I was still young enough to prepare. But even at that age, I was smart enough to realize that using a plan that was dependent on the stock market doing exactly what I needed it to do 30 years in the future was not a good plan. And this is the situation that the vast majority of baby boomers find themselves in right now. So I took matters into my own hands and I met with multiple financial planners, and none of them could give me a solution for a future guaranteed income that functioned like my defined benefit pension would have. Fortunately, one day I got a random email from one of the financial newsletters I was subscribing to that described everything that I had been looking for, which was protection of my money and future guaranteed income. And after further researching that information, what I discovered was everything that I'd been looking for could be found in the insurance industry. And I remember thinking, seriously, the insurance? Because I had no clue these types of products even existed, much less were provided by the insurance industry. I just thought those were the guys with the terrible closing lines that wanted to sell you as much death benefit as possible and drove you nuts until you signed up. And I was wrong. So I did something I personally never do, which is enter my information into a website and wait for someone to call me back to explain this program. And this guy just decimated every objection I could come up with. And not because he was some savvy salesman, but because he just kept giving me facts. He was being honest with me, which I can't really say about all the other guys I talked to. So I went ahead and got my plan set up. And a few weeks after that, I kind of realized that I couldn't be the only person having this problem. So I called the guy back and asked him if this was something that he thought I could do on my days off from the firehouse. And I mean, he blew me off at first, but he told me the steps to take to get licensed. And I called him back a few months later and told him, hey, I'm good to go, man. Let's do this. So long story short, that's when the real education began. And I started learning the different nuances of the business because there is a lot that goes into this. So he took me under his wing for about a year, and then I felt confident enough to go on my own, and I started Atlas Financial Strategies. And all I do is specialize in safe money strategies for retirement with the main focus around annuities. I've been in business for about 8 years now at the time of this recording, and it's been an exciting adventure because I have clients all the way from Seattle to Washington, D.C. And I mean, how many people can really say that they know people all over the country like that? So I do feel very fortunate that I found this industry, and I'm fortunate that you found this podcast because I'm hoping you will get something out of it. And I think in order for people to get something out of this podcast or this video, if you're watching on YouTube, I think we just need to get back to the basics. If you're listening to this, maybe you've had an advisor spring an annuity on you and you might be thinking like, what the hell is this thing? Or maybe you're looking for alternatives for your retirement strategy and you came across annuity somehow. We're going to cover everything in this podcast series as it progresses. But again, we're starting with the basics. Vince Lombardi, the famous coach of the Green Bay Packers, walked into the locker room at the beginning of the 1961 season after the Packers had lost the championship in the final minute of the previous season. And he famously said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And you got to imagine that because here is this guy sitting in front of 38 grown men, 38 professional football players, and he says, "This is a football." John Wooden, the famous coach from UCLA basketball, had a similar lesson. His opening statement to his team every year was how to put your socks on correctly and how to tie your shoes. Again, top players in their chosen field, and here's this guy telling them how to put their socks on. But what were these coaches really saying to their teams? They were saying, it's a new day, it's a new season, and we're going back to the basics. We're going back to the fundamentals. Because only when you master and execute the fundamentals can you perform at an optimal level. This is exactly what we're going to be doing in the Atlas Annuity Podcast. We're going back to the basics. We're going back to the fundamentals of what a healthy retirement has always looked like. And the fundamentals of a healthy retirement have always and will always include guaranteed lifetime income. And nothing does that better than an annuity. Not stocks, not bonds, not real estate, not CDs, not ETFs, not crypto, not precious metals. Literally, nothing provides the fundamentals of guaranteed income as efficiently and as safely as an annuity. I would argue that not even a defined benefit pension can do it as well because a lot of them have been rated, underfunded, and reduced or have totally lost the benefits for the people that have paid into them their whole careers. That happened to the pilots union. Gone. So finally, getting on with the question that is in the title of this podcast, which is probably why you're listening to it in the first place. What is an annuity? It's simple. An annuity is a contract. It's not an investment. It's a contract between you and a life insurance company. But even more importantly, it's a unilateral contract between you and the insurance company, meaning you can change the deal on them, but they can never change the deal on you. Annuities are unilateral financial agreements with an insurance company where you put your money on deposit with them with what is called a premium in exchange for one of several benefits. Those benefits could be guaranteed lifetime income, it could be guaranteed interest, it could be an opportunity for market type growth of your money with the protection of never losing due to a market downturn. It could be to defer taxes, or it could be for a guaranteed death benefit if you cannot qualify for life insurance. There are all different types of annuities and all different types of functions they can be used for. And we're going to get into all of that as these episodes progress. But again, going back to the fundamentals of first understanding what is an annuity. I'll give you the answer again in English and not financialese, okay? And an annuity is a unilateral agreement with a life insurance company that allows you to deposit money with them in exchange for a guaranteed, predetermined purpose, which again could be lifetime income, it could be guaranteed interest, growth opportunity for your money without risking it in the market, tax deferrals, or a guaranteed death benefit. Now, that was a lot. And again, we're going to get into more details and different scenarios as these go on. But if you have questions or would like to see what annuities are available that may be appropriate for you, I would recommend you head over to atlasannuity.com, atlasannuity.com. That will take you directly to my calendar page, and you can book a short phone call to talk and get your questions answered. Very simple, no pressure. Or you can navigate to all my other resources on the website from that page, including my video series, 20% More Spendable Income in Retirement, which I will also leave a link to in the show notes. Anyways, I really hope that helps. There's a lot more information to come in the future to help you master the fundamentals of retirement here on the Atlas Annuity Podcast. And we want to get this information out to as many people as possible. So if you like this podcast or you found it helpful, please subscribe to the podcast, give it a thumbs up, share the podcast, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And please, again, share this if you think this could benefit someone else that you know. Again, this is Marty Becker, wishing you the best in your financial education.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Atlas Annuity Podcast. All information presented is for educational purposes only and is not a recommendation to implement any tax strategy, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or transfer any security or insurance products. Atlas Financial Strategies Incorporated is an insurance-only licensed entity, and any decisions to buy or sell securities should be discussed with a licensed securities advisor, and any tax strategy should be discussed with a licensed tax professional. Past performance of any strategies or products mentioned are not a guarantee of future returns. For any other questions or concerns, please go to www.atlasannuity.com.